One of the benefits of using Stripe as your payment processor is that you have the ability to create whatever experience is right for you and your customer. What we're going to do in this video is see how a UK-based video game company is able to use both Stripe tax and the payment element to create a customized and seamless experience for selling their new game. Let's start off by taking a look at the demo. Now, the team at Llama Force Games in the UK have set up a purchase page for their new game, The Woolly Protector, and they've decided to use Stripe's payment element for their custom payment integration. Now, as you can see, they decided to take a minimalistic approach with their user experience, but don't worry about it. You always have the ability to customize the look and feel of any of Stripe's UI components to suit whatever style that you're going for. Let's go ahead and fill this form out. So I'm just going to go ahead and add my email address. I'm going to use our test card. This is not a real credit card. Don't try and charge it. I'm going to say that this customer is in the UK, and then I'm going to add a postal code. Now, if I go ahead and hit pay, what should be happening on the back end is that Stripe's going to process that payment and send me back a result, whether it was successful or not. Now, for the sake of this demo, I made it return the payment intent that was used in the back end to process that transaction. I'm going to go ahead and click it, and it should send me over to the Stripe dashboard where I could see the details of the payments for the game that we just purchased. As you can see, we paid 80 euros for it. It was successful. Another thing I want us to pay attention to a little bit further down on the page is that within the metadata of this payment, we also save the ID of the tax calculation. Keep this in the back of your mind because we're going to refer to it a little bit later on when we take a look at the code. Now, if we head over to the tax section, and in particular, I want to look at the registrations. Right. If we look at the registrations for Llama Force Gaming, you can see that they're registered to collect taxes and do business in the United Kingdom as well as Spain. And if we click on one of these, you can see that they're registered to collect VAT, or value added tax. If they needed to expand to do business in other places and collect taxes there, they could always hit the add new registration and select the country that they're going to be registered to collect tax in. Now let's head over to Visual Studio Code and see what it took to wire up this experience. Now, the front end for this application was built with React, and also it makes use of the React Stripe package that provides some convenient utilities for accessing both Stripe elements and also the Stripe API. On line 10, you could see that we're making use of a use effect hook. This is going to make a call to the backend to return some credentials that we're going to need to use inside of our components. And if we scroll down, on line 22, you could see that we're using the elements component. This component acts like a provider and allows us to float on our Stripe credentials down into any nested components. Let's go ahead and take a look at the checkout form. Inside of this file, we're going to import the payment element from React Stripe. And as we take a look at our markup, you can see that there's not a lot required for us to actually make use of some of these UI components. Inside of the handle submit, on line 26, we're going to make a call out to the Stripe API to confirm the payment. We need to provide it a reference to the elements that we used in the UI. In this case, it's going to be the payment element as well as the link element. We also need to provide a return URL, which is where the customer is going to be redirected to once the transaction is complete. Let's go ahead and take a look at the backend. The backend is a Node.js application built on top of Express. Here's that create payment intent method that you saw earlier inside of the payment component. What it does is that it sets up a payment intent, which essentially is how we're going to track the payment for the video game that's being sold. Inside of here, we define our amounts, the currency we're going to use. Then on line 67, you can see we're even making a call to calculate the tax for the purchase that we're about to make. Let's take a look at that really quickly. Inside of calculate tax, we're making a call out to the Stripe API again and providing it with a few details. Obviously, we need to give it the currency, some customer details, and we just have these hard-coded for now, and also the line items. In this case, we only have one thing that we're purchasing, which is the game. So we give it the amounts, and we're also specifying that the tax behavior is inclusive. An inclusive tax behavior just means that the price that the customer is paying, the price that they're seeing, already includes the tax, and that no additional tax amount needs to be added on to the total. We give it the currency, the total amount from the tax calculation, and also in the metadata, we're storing the ID from the tax calculation. We saw this a little bit early inside of the dashboard when we were looking at the payment that we made. Once that's done, all we need to do is just return that client secret over to the front end. And this is the secret our UI is going to use as it's creating an instance of the payment element. Now, I have one more method that I want to show you. Once a payment was attempted, regardless if it was successful or not, Stripe is going to fire off webhooks. So we have an endpoint here that's going to listen to those webhooks and try and react to it. So here, I'm going to scroll down a little bit and you'll see I'm listening for a webhook. And if the event type is payment intent succeeded, I want to run through a little bit of code that's here. So you can see that I'm just logging out to the console, payment captured. I'm retrieving the payment intent objects from the body of the webhook. Then on line 137, I'm going to create a tax transaction. I'm going to make use of that tax calculation ID that we stored in the payment intent metadata. A tax transaction records the taxes that you've collected from your customer. And you'll want to create these so that later you can download the data and generate reports that can help you with filing your taxes. Actually, if we head back over to the tax page, you can see a button right here at the top. I can click on it and I can export my transaction data into a CSV file. And then you can import that into whatever process or accounting software you use so you can go ahead and file your taxing reports. So hopefully you've seen that creating a customized experience for your users using tools like Stripe Tax and the payment elements is probably a lot easier than you thought. If you want to learn more about these tools and some of the other services we have available at Stripe, I definitely recommend that you head over to the documentation and also take a look at some of the other videos we have available on the Stripe Developers YouTube channel.